question for our panelists. What was or is your vibe as a college student? Did you dress up for class? Did you complete your work ahead of schedule? Were you social? Did you get involved in groups on campus? Tell us your vibes.
All right, well, I'll go ahead and go first. So my vibe as a college student, personally, I've always been a person who like dresses up, like not necessarily like fancy, but I've always put effort into my outfits. Even if I'm going to the grocery store, like I put on like a full outfit. Like I don't know why. That's just how I am. And as far as like my work, I tried my best to finish my work ahead of time, but I'm not gonna sit up here and act like I never procrastinated ever in my life, because I would be lying. As far as like being in groups on campus, I wasn't as involved as I wish I was. I did do intramural basketball, which is like not like the official college team, but like, you know, you can play with other people, like friendly competition. And yeah, that was kind of like mostly what I was into.
I like your vibe. Nice. Anybody else want to talk a little bit about your vibe?
I'll definitely go. I'm kind of a little bit of the opposite, but because I went to Tuskegee University, we have this day called Fried Chicken Wednesday, and it's the cafeteria, right? And so we're sitting, you know, in the cafeteria on a Wednesday, and instead of you wearing, you know, maybe like some Crocs or some sandals to, you know, the cafeteria, we wear heels to the cafeteria on Wednesday, and we're, you know, head to toe, you know, full your Sunday's best, which is, you know, cool down south. But Miss Yaya here, Miss Ayana here, I just like to go, you know, some leggings, and, you know, that's my vibe. I'm just coming from California, so I have the leggings and the sandals, and I go about my day. But as far as completing my work ahead of time, I kind of got I got it ingrained in my head that if you plan ahead, then you won't, you know, have to miss anything, or you could fix things along the way. So I definitely had a planner, and I was making sure that I was writing down homework for the week, and then making sure that I was at least tackling things day by day. Now, procrastination is real, so sometimes I didn't get to do the assignments that I wanted to do on Monday, Tuesday, but it was due on Friday. So that means you had those 2 extra days to get those, you know, done and completed. So that was my strategy for school. And then I was very, very social, just because it's a HBCU, a historical Black college. There's people who look like you, of course, everywhere. It's 98% Black. And so you have to find yourself in those types of people, in those types of settings. So I definitely was a part of a pre-law society that allowed me to help strengthen my skills in law and just planning and stuff like that. And then Pi Sigma Alpha, which was an honor society for my political science. It was really cool. You got to meet different types of people from all over the world who also was majoring in political science. And then also, as you guys may or may not see, I was the women's basketball manager. And so that gave me a lot of experience with girls from all over the country. So that was a definitely eye-opener. That was pretty much all my social circle, because I had to be with them like 24/7. So I was all over the place, but I definitely had a lot of fun in my 4 years at Tuskegee University.
Thank you. Thanks from hearing from both of y'all about just y'all different student vibes. I appreciate it. Let's move on to the next question. So, do you have a squad or person that supports you through this journey? If so, who and why does their support matter?
Here, I'll start this one. I would say, so when I came to San Francisco State, I was in the EOP program. So that's educational opportunity. So that already gave me like friends before school started. So when you're in college, I would say you will want good friends. And why I say that, because I'm gonna be honest, I told Chinna that I'm gonna keep it real with everybody while talking. So like, I'm the type of person, I am a procrastinator. I always wait till the last minute to do stuff. I'm one of those people, I'm like, you know what, I'll do that later. I'm like, let's go party. You know, we could do homework later. But when you have that friend group, so just imagine like, I'm trying to get my friends to go party. I'm not trying to say I was the one trying to get them to do bad things, but I'm just saying I was the one that's trying to get them to party. And all of them are going to the library to finish papers on a Friday night. What am I going to do? Am I going to go party by myself, or am I going to go to the library with my friends? So like, I would say I had a big shout out to my EOP crew, because of them I had friends, and because of EOP and having friends, I graduated college. So that was important for me.
Thank you for sharing. Anybody else want to talk? It doesn't need to be a squad. It could be a person too.
I could go
Group or anything. Go ahead,
next. When I was so I'm from Baltimore originally, and I moved to California not knowing anything about California, and I went to a California school. So I had to start fresh. And when I got there, I'm a dancer, so I like stayed with the dance community. We just so happened to be in college, and we danced outside of school, so we all like went together to the dance socials, and we went to the library together while dancing in the library. It was fun. And we made sure that we like got our stuff done and went to concerts, like the dance concerts, but we knew that if we didn't get our work done, we weren't going to be able to see each other afterwards to go to those dance concerts. So I also had like a job that really pushed me to like grow into this person that I am today, because they gave me that opportunity and they held that space for me when I was going through a really rough time at my school. And I think that they matter because they showed me the importance of mental health and why it's important to prioritize myself in like a place that doesn't really necessarily care about who I am as an individual, but like as a unit they care. So I needed that in order for them to push me and really know that I matter in these spaces, because I didn't realize that, or I didn't know that about myself before.
Thank you for sharing.
I just wanted to speak to that too. I had more so of a sisterhood as I went into college. So I'm a part of a program called White Tristed for Girls, and I don't know if people have heard it before or even know what it is, but it's essentially it is a girls group. And you start up as girls, and you become ladies, and then you become a woman. And so this group and this lady, the founder, Alexis Wise, she taught me this 24/72 thing. And so the concept of 24/72 is that whatever decision, or if you feel some type of way about anything, whether it's family, friends, teachers, assignments, anything, give it 24/72 hours before you respond or give an opinion or give any type of decision making, because it gives you some time to reflect and think about things as a whole, and not just react, and actually give yourself some time to respond. So if it wasn't for Alexis and my sisters, I probably wouldn't be as strong-minded and strong or grounded in who I am before I actually went to college, because a lot of people lose themselves. They don't get to fully develop their mind of who they are before they go into college. And then they get to college, and then you get to kind of create whoever you want to be. And then you kind of get lost in trying to fit in anywhere instead of having an actual place that you want to be. And so I definitely gravitated to that whole concept of 24/72. And today I still use it. So, yes.
Well, now I'm going to use it. So thank you. And that's great. Thank y'all all of y'all for, chiming in on this piece, because we all know it does sometimes take a village, but also know that it's also you too, y'all, the ones making it get done. So thank you for really talking about that piece, y'all. We're going to talk about a little bit of the topic, reclaiming identity. And we're not going to get too deep into this topic, but I do have one question for all of you. So a majority of colleges and universities are predominantly white spaces. How do you navigate that space successfully as a Black woman? Give us one tip or some advice, and how did you own your space or reclaim that space? And don't all speak at once.
I can go. Oh, if somebody else, I can go.
Handle it.
All right, so I'll go ahead and go first. So as I mentioned before, I attended UC Irvine. And I'm originally from the Bay Area, so I'm used to being around a lot of people who look like me. However, at UC Irvine, there was only 2% of Black people at that university. Everyone else was white and pretty much Asian, like pretty much everybody else was that race. And it was kind of like a culture shock, you could say. And so the way that I dealt with that, I actually had a pretty tough time dealing with it at first, especially. But I think it's important to kind of find the other people around you. Like, I was in this specific class that was called Pride, and it was aimed towards Black students. And so it was literally like a safe space held for us. And, you know, things like Black Student Union and just like other clubs, they don't have to be specifically like for those reasons, but, you know, there's, I would just say trying to look for other ways to connect with Black people on your campus if they're not like super prominent. You know, there's ways to find them. You just got to look for them. And, you know, pretty much if you like are kind of outgoing and you just like introduce yourself to one Black person, most likely they already know other Black people to introduce you to. So you just kind of get integrated into the group. You kind of got to put yourself out there in certain situations, but like at a HBCU, I can tell that's literally not a problem at all. But, you know, just be prepared for like whatever university you go to, you may have to kind of like put yourself out there a little bit.
Thanks.
When I heard this question, it brought up a whole lot of, and I was like, okay, how do I go about making this statement before I bring my emotional self out, right? So when I first went to Santa Cruz, like I had never visited the school. I didn't know anything about it. And I was like, okay, like I wasn't really ingrained in my Blackness. I didn't really know what it meant to be a Black woman. I didn't know how to go about that sentence at all. I wasn't taught when I was little. Like, I'm Afro-Latina. And in the Dominican household, your mom is always straightening your hair because they say you have pelo malo, which means you have bad hair, which means having curly hair is just something, it's just out the blue. When I got to college, I saw curly hair everywhere. I also had a boyfriend, and I was like, okay, when I broke up, I had the red hair phase. I had a big chop. I was like, all right, whatever, like, let's start fresh and let me love myself. And I had this experience when I was a freshman, and somebody had told me, a police officer to be specifically, had told me after somebody had did this wrong to me that I didn't look vindictive. And I was confused because I didn't know what that meant. I was like, how can somebody look vindictive? Like, what are you trying to get out of that? So then I became this person trying to understand, like, I'm trying to go to school, but I'm also trying not to be this person where they're trying to attack me all the time. I have to speak up in the middle of class, but then the teachers don't want to listen because I'm the only person who knows what they're saying is wrong, and nobody's trying to call them in or call them out for it. So I became confused a lot. I joined the African American Resource and Cultural Center, and they had took me in, and I was a part of something that I loved. I was creating events that retained people like me, people in general, students, faculty, staff, culturally, academically, mentally, religiously for some, if there was like different kinds of events that different churches were putting on. But I created those events to show that you deserve to be in the space, to show you that I got in just as much as you get in. It wasn't just because somebody had accepted my offer letter. No, I deserve to be in that space. And over the 4 years that I was there, I was growing as an individual, trying to make sure that I deserved to be in those spaces. And it wasn't something that somebody had to tell me. I had to tell myself. Like, nothing nobody could tell me was going to change my mind unless I changed my mind for me. And so when I got older, right, that whole like, when I get older, I want to be like this. So when I got older, I was like, I already know I deserve to be in these spaces, but I want somebody else to know that they deserve it too by providing these resources that I knew how to find, that I had to figure out how to find myself. And then when I did find it, I was like, I'm not going to hold this information back. Like, y'all deserve to know the ins and nooks and crannies of this school too. So I own my space by creating my own space, basically. That's what I did. Yeah.
How powerful. How powerful. I know many of us have had to do something similar. Okay, Essence, all the claps. Yes.
I feel like she's amazing for even saying those things because, see, I get a different view. I get a whole different perspective because I went to a school that was 98% Black. It didn't matter if you were, you know, half Black, half white, you were still Black and you were on this campus. But a different, you know, I get a different perspective because I came from Marin Catholic. Well, first of all, I came from Marin City, that's predominantly Black. And then I went to Marin Catholic, which was predominantly white. And then I ended up going to HBCU, that's again, predominantly Black. So then I was able to be culture shock again, all over again. But in a way that allowed me to grow even more because I realized that there's still social statuses that will come into play. Because I was from California, everybody assumed that I had money. Like no matter what conversation that we had, you from Cali? Oh, you got bread. I said, yeah, we got bread and water and milk. Yes, we do, just like everybody else. But the thing is, though, is that I had to have assistance to come to the school, and I'm still paying out of my pocket to come to the school. And people didn't think that off rip or off bat. That wasn't their first thought or reaction. And so being from California, being African-American at this African or predominantly African-American school, you really only had to deal with colorism too. Like we still today in 2020 deal with colorism in our schools because it's pretty much ingrained in us, into us. And we have our light skins versus our dark skins. And then also at these HBCUs, we're really, really big in sororities and fraternities. And some of those, you know, background stories about how some of those girls got into these situations were about, you know, about those, what is it called? Paper brown bag tests. Like if you were lighter than that, then you could get into the sorority. If you were darker than that, you were not able to get in this sorority. And so we still have that today, but it's not, you know, the same wavelength or it's not as extreme. But I had to figure out how to love myself being in a place where all these African-American people are still traumatized. We're still trying to find our way in life. And it's almost brainwashing because in that, you know, tight-knit community of all Black people, they're still preparing us for the corporate world that's essentially all built by white people. So we get one reality at homecoming where there's nothing but Black excellence and Black people, and yes, we want to thrive, but yet we're still going to be walking into those corporations where we see nothing but white people. So how do we combat that? How do we deal with that? How does an HBCU actually teach us how to do that? And they did a really good job by letting us know that even if we're you know, Black or African American or Black or brown, that we still have to go 10 times harder. We still have to study 10 times harder. Yeah, instead of going to that party, Ramona, we're going to have to go to the library and we're going to have to compare notes first and then we're going to go party because that's just how it worked at Tuskegee, honestly. We had our fun, but you got to make sure that Dr. Indy got his English paper on time. Otherwise, you are not going to be there the next semester. But yes, that was my experience. And so in tying in everything, I truly, truly would never, ever, I never regretted going to HBCU. And that was literally all of my acceptances to be honest, was all HBCUs. But yeah.
I'm proud of you, and thank you for sharing a little bit of your experience and talking about the foundation that the HBCU kind of made sure that you had before you were set off into the world. Like I wish I had that experience too, but it's all right. So we're gonna move on a little bit. Thank you so much for all of y'all for like really chiming in on that piece. We went a little bit longer than expected, which is good, and I love that. And we're gonna just move on to our next topic, which is intersection of Black and woman. And the first question, and this is meant to just re-energize us real quick, but I would like all my panelists to give me one word to describe Black women and why.
All right, I'll go first. My word is compassionate, because I grew up where my mom, my grandmother, doors are always open. If somebody's hungry, come get a plate. I know we run over time, but I'm gonna share a little story. For instance, I remember when I was like a little kid, or my mom was taking me to kindergarten. I was like in kindergarten, and used to have to pay 50 cents for chocolate milk. I used to love chocolate milk, which now I don't like it, but 50 cents for chocolate milk. And there was this one girl there, all the kids would be in line to get the chocolate milk. And she was never able to get chocolate milk, I guess because her mom didn't have the money, or I wouldn't send her to school with it. So I remember every Friday when they had chocolate milk, my mom will always, make sure that I came with $1. And I'm a kindergartner coming with big money with $1. And to help, and that my mom would always say, that's for you and her. So like to this day, that's where my mindset is just be compassionate, always help out.
My word would be powerful. And, that relates to a lot of things. I feel like Black people as a whole and Black women specifically go through a lot of things on a daily basis. And we're not always allowed to express how we feel. So we have to kind of restrain ourselves sometimes. And that takes a whole lot of effort, a whole lot of power, a whole lot of frustration is caused from that too. It's just some other people might think that they know what we go through, but you never truly know unless you actually experience it. So it's just I don't know, just powerful is really, yeah.
I would say adaptable. We've always been put in situations where we literally have to adapt to other people. And so with that, understanding that we can adapt to anything that's, thrown at us, I think that we're the ultimate adapters. There's no way that we should adapt to other people. Every time we, do something in our culture, somebody else is, wanting to either take it or be something like us. But at the end of the day, we're the ones adapting to everybody else, because we make sure we are just lovable people, and we make sure that everyone else is good first. And sometimes we have to adapt in certain situations to make sure other people are comfortable. And so, yeah, that's my tidbit on that one.
When I think of the Black woman, I think of magical, because half the things that people know that they see a Black woman do, they don't know half the things a Black woman can do. They just think they see it when something's happening. It's magic. And I think that the term Black girl magic is something very beautiful. So and words have a lot of power. I study linguistics, hey. But at the same time, just knowing that when you give that strength to a word, that's giving you your all. That's giving you all the energy. So I think that magical, and I'm over here all shivery and stuff, because magical just makes me feel like I'm a fairy or something. I really got just happiness glowing, and I can't even see it because I don't got my glasses on,
Yes, I totally agree. And I think everyone else does too. Ayana also said you make her very happy. So thank you for that. And we're gonna move on from that. I feel so magical right now, just disgusting. My next question for all of you is, across all racial ethnic groups, 60% of Black women obtained an associate degree and 64% obtained a bachelor's degree in degree granting post-secondary education within 2015-2016, making Black women the most educated group in the US. Yes. But Black women still remain second to last when it comes to earnings. So what are your thoughts in relation to life after college?
Okay, that's mine. So it took me 5 years to graduate college, and in all honesty, I kind of look back on it and I feel like I kind of did that on purpose, because I was scared of what's going to happen next. And one big reason is because, one, I'm a woman, and two, I'm a Black woman. So while I was in college, I was working at a sneaker store, and I kept telling myself, oh my gosh, I'm about to graduate. Then after that, like, what do I look like still working at this sneaker store? It's gonna look like I went to college for nothing, you know? And then Scott had reached out to me to come and work for 10,000 Degrees. So I did. And then even life after that, I was like, okay, I'm scared. So there were times when like I wouldn't even apply for a job, although I knew that I could do good at that job because I was a Black woman. And I was kind of like scared to apply for that job. So like even the job I have now, so right now I'm an admissions associate at a private school. So when I think, in all honesty, when I think of like private school, like K through 8 in Marin, I'm thinking of like white people. So I'm like, you know what? I told myself, I'm like, I'm not gonna apply to that because I'm most likely not gonna get the job. But I was like, you know what? Let me go for it. And when I tell you they called me back the next day, and guess who hired me? A Black woman. So my thing on it is never be afraid. Always apply. There's somebody out there that wants you, and you never know, they might be Black, like my boss was. So yeah.
Everybody, thank you so much. I do want to end on a really good note, and the next topic we'll be talking about is radical self-care. And if you know who Audre Lorde is, you may have heard that term. Radical self-care is the assertion that you have the responsibility to take care of yourself first before attempting to take care of others. It's necessary to fill your cup first, then to go to others from the overflow. In what ways do you practice radical self-care? How do you prioritize your well-being and success? And I would like everyone on the panel, if you can, to just answer that question. And we also have like a few links that we're dropping. Radical Self-Care article for all of you. It's Audre Lorde's specific organization, and it has like a few different templates and stuff like that if you are interested in figuring out like how can you radically take care of yourself. Go ahead.
Hi, Jen, I could go. Each person has a lot of different identities that they have as an individual, and those identities make up that person, whether you can see those or they just, you know that they're there. But the intersection of those identities and to realize that they make up you is something that you have to know. Like you have to make that a priority, that you know who you are as a person before you move about the world, because the world can try and tell you anything that you know may or may not be true. But if you know that there's something true within yourself, I think that when you have radical self-love for yourself, that is radical self-care, because you're not letting somebody take away something that you know that you gave to yourself, which is love. And the way that I see radical self-love is to make sure that I am in those situations where I'm not going to ever let somebody take away my identity from me. They can try. That means that they'll have this whole mental thing with themselves. But for me to know who I am and make sure that they know that I know who I am, whether that means that we're having a conversation, or if I'm teaching them salsa or bachata or algo más, whatever else, if they know that I'm going to be in this space because I know what I bring to the table, but I'm not going to ever let them bring a table for me. No, I'm always going to have that prepared for myself, just to make sure that people know that I come prepared, that they can't take that that from me just because they think historically, just because they try to take it from my ancestors. My ancestors live vicariously through me. Everything that I do, I make sure that I do it in honor of them, because I'm not here without them. So for me to be able to love myself, I'm being loved by them. They might not be physically here with me, but spirits are real. And so I dance. I have my own dance business. It's called Rimo de Sazon. Get into it. But I have my own dance business that I teach people because song has so much energy into it. I make hair gel because I like to be able to know what I'm putting in my hair, and I'm good at it. So I make sure that I get it out. And then I have conversations with people, letting them know, like, I'm not that person where you can just assume that you know who I am. I went to a barber battle. Also, I'm a barber. What's up? I went to a barber battle and I was dancing, living, being my wholesome self. Also being a college student, and this person, like this vendor person, literally walks up to me. He's like, I never thought you were ever in college the way you were dancing. I was like, if you don't get out of here with your misogynistic self, I'm gonna walk out. I'm gonna keep on pushing because I know who I am. And I never gave them my business. I never let them take me out of character, because one thing of, like, a fact that I learned when I was a freshman, dealing with everything that I went through, was nobody can take that power from you unless you give it to them. So when I learned that at 18 years old, that was that haircut phase. That was the red hair phase. That was me trying to understand why I go to school with a whole bunch of hippies living in a forest that I never even went to in the first place. That was me moving to California, standing up to my father, who I don't even really know in the first place. That's me being that radical self-love, doing things that you know that you have to prioritize yourself for. And my way of radical self-love is going to be different from everybody in this group. But to know that we prioritize our self-love, that's radical self-care.
Yes. Who is next?
I don't even want to go. Really? But no, honestly,
Essence killed it. Go ahead.
she really did, because honestly, I'm such an overextender. Like, I'm so always the first one in line to help somebody else, just because that's truly how I feel. I feel more gratification helping somebody else out rather than me getting an A in the class. That's just how I am. That's kind of how I was raised. Oh, just like Ramona, like, we come from the same type of background. Like, we both are from Marin City, and our whole community is family based. A lot of us are family, and so honestly, the best way that I can give myself self-care and self-love is honestly through my photography. I became a photographer with my experience at MC at Marin Catholic. I just kind of accidentally got into that class, and I was like, I accidentally didn't want to pay for a camera, but I ended up paying for a camera, and I loved it. And it was a way for me to tell my story through a lens that nobody else could have. Nobody else has my eyes, nobody else has my head, no one else has my brain. And so me being able to finally be able to control something was something that I felt that I could be my own bubble, and that was me taking care of myself. And ultimately, I ended up taking pictures of family and friends, and so that just made me even more happier, because I was able to help them out, help me out. So everything that Essence said, I'm 100% behind, because I also have my own business too, and I help people start their own business. And so that's just how I operate. I feel like once somebody else is doing good, then I'm okay. And yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, as long as I can go to sleep in my bed with a photo that I edited and somebody is good, I'm good to go. I can go to sleep and be okay at the end of the night.
That is
self-care, because self-radical care, it's hard to do, because I put God first too. So I'm always second. No matter what I do, I'm always second. So It's a transition that I'm working on, Essence, okay? So I'm gonna try to be like you more often, but I'm still kind of in this transition stage. So yeah.
All right, I'll go next. I'm gonna keep it short and sweet. I would say that how I practice radical self-care is really just isolating myself from everyone. And why I say isolate myself from everyone is because that's the only space where I know that this is what I want. And I'm not hearing other people's opinions. I'm not, kind of like what Essence said about like identity and stuff. When I'm by myself, that's when, everything is falling into place. So that's really what I do, is isolate myself and put myself first.
Honestly, it's gonna sound like I'm just saying the same thing as everybody else, because everybody else said like the best stuff ever. But like literally radical self-care is just like taking time for yourself. I'm like with everybody, like I always just try to like help other people as much as possible. And then I take on a lot of their burdens in that, I feel like. And sometimes it's kind of like emotionally draining for me. And so like I just need to like reserve time for myself, and it could be like isolating myself, or it could be just like going outside for a walk or something, like just giving myself time to process my thoughts and just like be by myself and like not have to worry about other people's issues, which it's not bad to listen to other people and like try to help them with their problems, but it is bad if you start neglecting your own issues that you need to deal with first. So just taking time to like process and make sure that you're okay, because if you're not okay, you can't really help somebody else be okay. So it's like kind of like it's like a cycle. Like you got to balance yourself, like focusing on yourself and trying to help other people if that's what you choose to do.
It's that cut before. You can't. You have empty. How you gonna give somebody else something? That don't make no sense.
Exactly.
I try to practice it all the time, y'all. My kids be screaming at the top of their lungs, and I'm literally like in the bathroom, like singing Beyonce, and I'm like, y'all could wait. Y'all could wait. So that is my radical act. It's okay to sometimes get in that. And that's how I show definitely my self-care. Before we are completely done, that was like the last question I have for you, panelists. Thank you so much. I appreciate all of your answers. You have been great, including our audience. But for closing, if y'all had any other questions, I did see like one pop up. I think it was specifically for you, Ayana, about Marin Catholic and your experience as a person of color. If you did want to answer that real quick, I think that was like one of the questions that I saw. And if anyone else has questions, feel free to ask right now. We ask that you be polite. But yeah, if you want to answer the other question, Ayana.
Sure. Like I said before, going from a predominantly Black city, Marin City, and then going to Marin Catholic, and then going back to what I know and being an HBCU, Marin Catholic was the typical Marin story. I mean, you have white people who have inherited money and property and so forth, and they've built their own, pretty much empire. And so that's just passed on through families, through kids and generations. And so when it gets to a place like Marin Catholic where you're one of the four, and you're probably two of them like full Black kids, and the other two maybe half white, half Black, it's a different experience. You're considered the token kid, as in you're the Black kid who was able to not only make it or get accepted, but only is she going to make it through? That's the question from every single white parent that I've pretty much encountered. They love Yaya, but is she going to make it through? Is she going to be the student who blows up is she going to be the typical, stereotypical, angry, problematic Black child? Can I keep up? Am I going to continue to make the grades and be below average? Am I going to be average? Am I going to be above average? And so my experience there at Marin Catholic was not a terrible one at all. I actually am so grateful that I was able to understand a little bit more on how Marin white people actually are and how they educate their children, how they actually raise their children. Because at the end of the day, the first teacher is their parent. And if the parent is not teaching their kid about racism as a real entity that they will have to deal with, whether they notice it or not, it's going to be on their plate to make sure that that child gets what they need in order to actually deal with somebody like me when I get to that type of school. So overall, we'll say that my experience at MC was amazing, but there's several little stories and moments what I can tell you that I just felt like I was singled out, absolutely. But at the end of the day, I'll never ever regret going there, because at the end of the day, I knew that Marin Catholic was a school that everybody couldn't get into, and I wanted to defeat the odds, whether they told me that I could or they couldn't. So yes.
Thank you for answering the question. We have another one too. What would you tell a 15-year-old version of yourself about college? And anybody can answer that one. Your 15-year-old self, remember that?
Ooh, I had literally moved here after my 15. Right, I literally just had a 15, moved to California. Apparently they have taco trucks here, all that stuff, right? I would tell myself that you matter. Literally, just you matter, because so many people in college, I had advisors tell me I didn't belong there. I had racist police officers tell me I don't look vindictive. I had a teacher who literally tell me that I don't even know why I'm in this class. I would tell myself, my little quinceañera, you know what I'm saying? I'd tell my 15-year-old self, somebody who's over here like, I'm an adult, right? No. I would tell myself that I matter in every single space that I go to. If I think I want to go, I'm going to go. And that's what I would tell myself, is that I matter. Everybody who's a human, even an animal, I got a little hamster with one eye over there, they matter too. I would literally tell everybody that they deserve to be in the space that they want to be in, because if they thought it, then apparently it must be so. That's what I would say.
I am not mad at that. Anybody else, their 15-year-old little self? We have one more question too. I see, was there any teacher that made a difference in your life or helped you to stay strong? If anybody wants to talk to that.
Sorry. I went to Redwood, and kind of like Yaya was talking about, full Black, it was like out of 330 of us who graduated, it was like 3 full Blacks at Redwood. So there was 2 teachers. It was a teacher, Miss Tett, and actually my counselor. And I think I'm the only one who had I feel like everybody always tells stories about bad stories about their counselors. And I'm like, wow, I was so opposite. So my counselor, Mr. Kelly, actually, I'm gonna share a little story with y'all. He's the one who made me come in the office and apply for 10KD. And I was like, nope, because I'm not writing no letter. I don't feel like writing no letter. I don't want to do that. And he was like, no, you're going to do it. It's free. So once I did that and got in the program, he actually came to 10KD to be a mentor. So he was just a good person. And because of him and because of Miss Tep at Redwood, they wrote me all the recommendations for scholarships, for college, everything. And I was able to go to, college with a free ride. And I want to thank them because I feel like they had a lot to do with it. So they were lovely.
I don't think Ramona gives her enough credit herself. in 10KD themselves, because Ayana wouldn't be in college or nothing without 10KD too. Bridge Gap, 10KD, Wires Girls. Let me think. It took a whole village to send me to college, and Ramona specifically,
Kept
and
going
Rodale
to
specifically. If they didn't tell me to do the application myself,
kept going to your house.
she was knocking on my door. They was texting me nonstop. I was like, I did it. Like, I did it. Finally, I did it. Okay. I made sure I turned it on time. I didn't do it late ever. And
you graduated. You were in my intensive and you graduated college. And this is my neighbor, so I knew her as a baby, y'all. Y'all understand. Like, not to get all like gooey on y'all, but like I feel like Ugo, this is how Ugo be like.
Ugo's out there somewhere too, listening.
Right. But no, everybody definitely. Ramona.
Well, thank you so much for answering the questions, y'all. It sounds like a few people have got to get going, but we still got some people going. I do want to give y'all the chance real quick to talk about any side hustles you have, anything that you would like to plug. I know, Briona, you had something in particular. If you'd like to talk about that.
Oh, yeah. So a small group of my friends and I have started making and selling t-shirts. And we have 2 designs, but here is one of them. It comes in multiple colors, but this one, it says Black period. And so this is an olive green. We have a black, there's a yellow, a red, a pink, and a light blue. And the other shirt says melanated to perfection. There's also a pink, there's a purple, there's a green, and possibly a black one coming out. But if anyone is interested, then I will type our Instagram page.
You already did. It's down there in the chat.
Okay, it's in the chat.
Follow her on Insta, please.
Yeah, so if you want a shirt, they're $15. Yeah, cool. Thank you. And the shirts are they're unisex. So yeah, a man could wear it too. Yeah.
Also, I wanted to just take the time real quick to talk about a petition on change.org. Please, if you can, sign the petition for Golden Gate Village residents. Council's plan for preservations of property, where they're at about 26,000 signatures. And if you are rocking and in solidarity with Marin City residents, please go ahead and sign that. That link is also in the chat. And I'm gonna give the floor. Anybody else want to talk about anything they're doing?
Just want to add to that, that the protest that happened on June 2nd, that was just the beginning, literally. I plan on doing so much more just for Marin to understand what this is really about. I do work at Freedom School as well, so we've been ingraining a lot of this, protest and speaking out, our voice, our movement type of feel to the kids as well. And so with those 2 being said, and then earlier I mentioned my business and helping other people with their businesses. That's something that I'm starting now. And so hopefully if you have anybody that's out there that's willing to help me with the marketing and branding people and helping with people with their businesses and their LLCs, feel free to reach out to me. Any photography that needs to be done, let me know. I'm all for it.
Taking them angles. All right. Thank you. And thank you again, everyone, for logging on. Once again, justice for Breonna Taylor, Black Lives Matter, justice for all the trans Black women out there as well. And if you love this, if you want more of this, please drop positive affirmations and comments in the chat box. We already been seeing them. And we do really appreciate all of y'all. Thank you so much.